Hey guys, welcome back to Crossbar for your daily fix of football. I'm your host Ahmed. In this episode, we'll be talking about good, bad, ugly of game week 4. Joining me today is Karthik. Before we start the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe the channel. Let's start with Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. Chelsea winning it 4-0. Karthik, Ben Chilwell showing his class, scoring a goal, getting an assist in the first Premier League appearance he has for Chelsea. What a game it was.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good game for Chelsea, and a much-needed clean sheet. Mendy making his Premier League debut. We saw him making a couple of good saves against Tottenham as well during the EFL Cup. But yeah, it was a good game. Still, look, there are still a lot of improvements that need to be done. Ben Chilwell again, he's good going forward. He still have to improve on his defensive, capabilities. If he has to replicate what Ashley Cole did. So that's still a concern. Of course, that's going to be difficult with if somebody exploits that that side of the pitch. I'm still yet to see some sparks from Werner and Havertz. We do see that here and now, but it would be good if he can get going, get some goals, get on the score sheet. But let's see how that goes. But all in all, it was a good week for Chelsea, winning it 4-0. Crystal Palace had a bad game, to be honest. They did not create a lot of chances. Zaha had very limited
Service given to him.
Yep. And so yeah.
But do you still think the game was a little nervy for Chelsea? The first goal came a little late, and then that again was a cross that was not coming to Ben Chilwell directly. Then he took an amazing shot that he took, and then he created the second one.
Yeah, I mean it was a nervy start. It was 0-0 at halftime. Although Chelsea did dominate most of the game, but till the time you get a goal, it's always a little nervy. And Lampard needed that win, especially after the 3-3 draw and the loss to Tottenham during the midweek. So he needed that, and I think they did well in the second half, which we've seen a lot from Lampard's team, that they play especially well after the first half. So Ben Chilwell was great. I mean, we can just hope that he continues that form.
And very excited to see Tammy and Jorginho fight for the penalty.
Yeah, I mean, see, what Lampard said was, he's a young guy. He had a good game. Tammy Abraham had a good game, so he wanted to get on the score sheet. And but they do have a designated penalty taker, and he's gonna be the one who takes the penalty. So yeah, of course he's young. He's excited. But yeah, that's how it goes. It has to be Jorginho.
And two penalties in this game, and then I think for me the goal that stood out was the Zuma's goal, because that was a really planned goal, the cross that came from Ben Chilwell. Yes, Zuma missed an opportunity I think a few minutes earlier, and then he scored this one. What's your take on him now? Is he becoming the centre back that you guys always wanted him to be?
So to be honest, I did not like much how Zuma played initially or last year. But I think he is forming that partnership with Thiago Silva. So it's sort of sitting well. We are still yet to see. I am sure Lampard still doesn't have his best back four. He's still figuring it out. But yeah, let's see how that goes. And Jorginho's penalties, I think that was funny. It's very identical penalties that he took. Keeper jumped the same side, he went the same way. If you look at the two penalties, you can hardly make a difference.
Yes, and I think he has scored out of 11 penalties that he has got, he has scored 10 now for Chelsea.
Yeah.
And I think for me, Ben Chilwell is the man of the match in this game.
Yeah, of course. I think he had an extraordinary game. So, yep.
So moving on to the next game, we were kind of excited for this. It was Everton versus Brighton. Everton crushing Brighton 4-2. And the second goal came a little late for Brighton, so by the time things were over. Your call on it, I think. Talk about James Rodriguez now. He scored 2 goals, had an assist in the game. I don't know why Ancelotti brought him out. He would have scored a hat trick if he was still on the pitch. Your call on this?
I think for Rodriguez, I think he's not a guy who can play the full 90 minutes as always. He always comes out. So he's done after like 70 odd minutes. He's done. As for Everton, I think they are flying
Yeah.
right now. It's difficult to beat that team. They also signed Ben Godfrey from so their defense is gonna get better. He's a great defender from Norwich. So I don't even know where does this go, but as they have started, if they continue playing, they are definitely contenders for the top four, which probably nobody thought of.
And they're right now at number one position.
Number one, unbeaten all four. They won all their 4 games. So yeah.
I was pretty surprised when I saw the starting 11. There was no Allen in it, and they were playing Gylfi Sigurdsson. But I think he kind of, by giving that assist, he made sure that his position is still there. Moving on to the next game, Karthik, Leeds versus Man City, an exciting game. We saw how confident Leeds are, regardlessly playing against the top four or top six or whichever team is in the table. They scored one, which is I would say quite unlucky for them. I think amazing keeping by Edison that he did. He at least saved 2 or 3 good chances that Leeds created. Sterling scoring a goal, and then from there for Leeds to go on and score one and creating that kind of opportunities was really good for them.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, 2 great philosophers of the game. They are masters in what they do. So it was exciting to watch. I'm sure Pep would be disappointed with the result. Leeds, these are definitely the happier of the 2 managers, probably. But then it looked like a pretty well matched. I think what City is basically missing right now is a forward, is a striker. They're missing Aguero and Gabriel Jesus, who are still going to be out for a couple of weeks. So Pep has some decisions to make of how he's going to set up his team, because they are getting that width on the wings, but there is nobody in the center to finish them off. Sterling is not an out and out striker. He likes to play on the wing. He can cut in and take a shot, but then that striker who can hit the ball, or that is what they are missing right now.
And also opening game for Ruben Diaz, Ake sacrificed his position for him, and then later on came in for Mendy. Do you think that's the right position that he's playing now, or what was your opinion of Ruben Diaz as well?
So I think he had a pretty decent game. He did not have a lot of time with the training with the team as well. So it's pretty difficult, especially coming into a side like Manchester City, and playing his first game not even within a weekend. And I, like I said, on the podcast as well, I think Ake is primarily gonna play in the left back position, for a lot of the games, because Mendy hasn't been, he's good going forward, yes, but he's been bad at defense, giving away penalties last time with Leicester, and then even this time I think he should have defended a couple of attacks that Leeds came on with, and they sort of made sure that they are attacking from that end, because Mendy was on that side, and Walker was equally bad, to be honest. So that is something that Pep needs to fix if he wants to win games.
And especially the last 20 minutes of the game, it just felt like there was no defense at City. It was just Edison doing those kind of saves that
he did make some beautiful saves, Edison. Otherwise City was done.
Yeah, I think it was at least 3-1 if Edison didn't do those kind of saves. And for that reason, he's my man of the match. What about yours?
I think I'll agree to that. I think he's also in our team of the week. So I think it was Edison who sort of saved City from that humiliation.
And moving on to the next game, Karthik, Newcastle versus Burnley. Maximin scored 1 goal and 1 assist, which Callum Wilson then again finished it. And then Callum Wilson getting that penalty again. Your take on it? Newcastle is unbeaten for 7 home games against Burnley now. Pretty good. It looks pretty good for Newcastle right now with new players coming in. 3-1, decent victory against Burnley.
Yeah, I think Saint Maximin is an exciting talent. I'm sure he, if he continues playing the way he is, I actually, was of the opinion that some of the big clubs would go in for him, but he did not have a lot of goals or assists last time. But if he continues playing like he did, he's definitely gonna raise some eyebrows or some clubs are gonna be in for him next season. He's been great. I've liked him since the time he's come into Newcastle last season, and he's been doing really well.
Also, Callum Wilson is the only Newcastle player who has played 4 games and have 4 goals. so that has happened too. You're man of the match for this game.
I think it would be Saint-Maximin without a doubt. I think he was great.
Moving on to Southampton versus West Brom. Southampton winning it easily 2-0. Also, Southampton. Also, quick fact about West Brom. West Brom till now have conceded 13 goals in the Premier League. It was an easy win for Southampton. Just quickly covering up Wolves and Fulham as well, Karthik. Wolves winning it 1-0. This also makes... and there are 2 more teams which have the same amount of goals conceded. Can you guess them?
Definitely Liverpool.
And Man United. Moving to the next game, Arsenal Sheffield United. Surprisingly, this is Sheffield United's 7th consecutive loss in Premier League. Arsenal winning it 2-1 at home. After Arteta took over, only Liverpool with 34 points at home has more points won than Arteta.
I think Arteta has 29 points right now.
Your call on this game?
I think again, similar to Everton, I think Arsenal has been in really good form. Yeah, they did flutter against Liverpool last time, but all in all, they have been playing well. Good contenders for the top 4 again this season. If they continue playing like that, good to see Pepe on the score sheet. He after his big money move, he has been sort of struggling in that team. So good to see that. That would give him loads of confidence. And then Saka, we all know he's an exciting talent. Scored a decent, pretty good goal. Good for Arteta.
You're man of the match for this game.
I would say Saka.
Saka.
He did well. Yeah.
And moving on to the final good game of the week, I think one of the best game that we had, or one of the best games that we had. It was Aston Villa versus Liverpool. Aston Villa winning it 7-2. I think this was much better than we had predicted. We predicted Aston Villa to win, but not with this class by hitting 7 goals. There have been so many stats broken by this team now. Your take on it? We'll talk about it in detail, but just initial take on it.
I'll just say one sentence. I think it's Klopp's. It's worse than Klopp's worst nightmare. Conceding 7 goals. I think this is also the most number of goals a team has conceded under Klopp ever. Right?
In his managerial career.
In his managerial career, yeah. So I don't know. I could not believe it. What was happening? But Liverpool didn't start the game well. Did not play well the entire game. There were some. I think the best player for Liverpool on the pitch was Jota and Salah, who again did not get a lot of service. I think they did miss Mane a lot. Yes. Definitely they did.
Yeah, and that was seen. They missed the keeper as well.
they missed Alisson as well. That was the first goal, and first goal is always very important in a game. That sort of gives you the confidence, or fucks it up for you. So I mean, I still cannot believe it that happened 7-2, but I think Aston Villa, nothing to take away from them, but Aston Villa were amazing. I think they took their chances. Ollie Watkins, everybody was criticizing after his big money move. I think he came for like 30 million around. But
what a game he had! What a game! Ollie Watkins, the 10th player to score a Premier League hat-trick against Liverpool, first since Dimitar Berbatov in 2010. So after 10 years, after a decade, somebody scoring a hat-trick against Liverpool. Was amazing finishes that he did. Liverpool also conceding 7 goals in a game for the first time since April 1963. The best part that I saw in this game was when energy in Aston Villa, which you never saw, and especially against the champions, right? And when they were going against them, it just felt like every time they're there, they're gonna score. And there were, I think, easy 3-4 chances they were missed by Aston Villa that if they would have, and obviously who missed those chances as well, Ross Barkley. He missed at least one good chance that he had. Together they look a nice team now.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you look in the midfield, yes, Barkley did miss a couple of chances, but him and Grealish, I think they form a really good partnership for Aston Villa. They sort of control that midfield good going forward. They knew Liverpool is gonna have a very high line, and that's what they utilized. You turn the ball on the counter and then just put it back. So that's what they did. I think for me, man of the match was Grealish again.
Scoring 2 goals.
scoring two,
Yeah.
assisting as well. Great game.
It was a beautiful game, and then and also it helped a lot of Man United fans across the across the world. So it was one of those games. Now Liverpool have conceded 11 goals in the first 4 games, and Aston Villa, because of this, is unbeaten till now with Everton. Though they have played 1 game less, but still unbeaten. Moving on to our first ugly game of the week. We don't have bad games this week, surprisingly. We just have good games and ugly games. Moving to the first ugly game, Leicester versus West Ham. 0 shots on target for Leicester, Karthik. What were we thinking when we said it'll be a high-scoring game?
I mean, if you can put past 5 against City, you would sort of expect, okay, fine. I mean, you can say Leicester lost, but then having 0 shots on target, I think they were just. I think it was just probably the overconfidence after beating City 5-2. I don't know, they were a little loose, but bad game for them. I think this was also an opportunity for Leicester to
Improve
make
the
that
point,
difference. Make that difference across the point.
Yeah.
But then talking in terms of West Ham, I think they have been playing really well. 4-0 last game, beating 3-0 Leicester. So they have been there. I think David Moyes should stay in quarantine. I think that's doing that's doing good for West Ham, him not being there. But yeah, good for West Ham. I think really great game for them. What are your thoughts on that game?
I think it was just that, as you said, overconfidence. They had 70% of the possession, Leicester, and then not even a single shot on target. West Ham played really well, scoring 3 goals against past these guys and making sure they have a clean sheet to go home. Pretty good game. Moving to the worst game of the week for me, Man United versus Tottenham. 1-6 was the final scoreline. Really bad game is still an underrated word, I think, for this game, and it also is kind of a reckoning for if you are a Man United fan or a follower or a supporter. This is a reckoning where you realize this is where the club is actually standing. You can't have the exactly same team playing against now a team which is better because of the people who have come in, and expect this team to win. But then they showed their class. I think Son and Harry Kane have just went past through Man United defense. Harry Maguire, the greatest centre back that we have right now, made at least 3 to 4 terrible mistakes.
I mean, if you look at the first goal, they were just only for the first goal there were 3 mistakes by Maguire, 2 bad headers, and then pulling Luke Shaw out of the way. So I don't know what's that was bad. Even the second goal, which he fouled Harry Kane and then he just stood there. Harry Kane took that chance and put that through ball to Son.
And then nutmeg.
The fourth goal, by Son, it was again he got nutmegged by Serge Aurier. So. Yes, there are definite problems. Yes, teams can have bad games. That red card is definitely debatable. That's always there. But even if you take that out, I think United still were sort of struggling. They got a first goal penalty within the first 30 seconds.
That's actually the fastest penalty scored ever in Premier League.
So they got a penalty. Good, but then Spurs were pretty dominant even before the red card came in. But I think after the red card, they just fell apart.
And then you could see that by Eric Bailly's mistake, right?
Yeah.
The moment the pass that he made, that the mistake that he made, that was again conceded. Harry Kane won't miss from that range. He just scored it. It just we'll definitely go to Spurs' point of view. Just want to finish from United's point of view, where I feel that it is. It's almost at the end of transfer window now. We hardly have. And we hardly have any new signings. Obviously, there are signs of Cavani coming in, but I don't think so. He would bring that great improvement to this side. Your call on this signing, if this happens.
So, I mean, I don't know why my first question is I don't know why United need Cavani,
Correct, yeah.
right? Because you have Martial, who's a great talent. I think what you sort of need right now is a better defensive midfielder, who can protect that back line. Or I know Matic is not a bad defender, right? But you need somebody with a more, modern sort of outlook, or a defender as well,
Or
because
somebody who's young who can just make sure he can run across it.
yeah, exactly. Somebody like Declan Rice,
Yep.
if I can name somebody like that. But I don't know what Cavani does bring. We see Martial playing. I would still hope to see Martial playing most of the games. Cavani would probably be more like a, FA Cup, EFL Cup kind of a guy.
But do you think Cavani is more a fan service than a signing that they're doing?
Probably. I think that's what is happening just to please the fans. But I don't think that's gonna help anyway. It's just gonna make it even worse. You cannot just get any signing and then see, what we
This
made
was
these
planned,
signings. Yeah. You cannot say that. I mean, if Cavani was planned, you should have got him like way back. He was a free agent all summer,
true,
right?
yeah.
You don't wait till the last week to get him, so definitely it's not planned. I think also what is missing is we saw those two substitutions during the halftime, which were more like damage control rather than trying to get back in the game last time, which
I really wanted to see Van der Beek coming in way early than he came, and then if you are not getting him in this crucial match and you're getting him that late, that shows the intent of the manager that this was not the signing he wanted for this year. If he really wanted him to be there present and take care of this game, he should have put him there early, or he should have just started with him in the first place. The entire intent of initially the first 20 minutes were really exciting as a Man U fan as well, though we were 2-1 down, but then it just felt like we would rise like at counter we are really good. But then once Martial's red card happened, and which regardlessly how subjective it is, if you're hitting somebody on the face, you're supposed to be sent off. And see, you can't. What all people are saying.
I think the only debate is if Lo Celso should also have been sent off, right? But Martial's reaction was definitely a red card.
If what I was thinking, instead of him hitting him back, he would have just fallen down. Or done that amazing acting of Neymar. Probably he would have gotten red card. So that's something very similar happened.
During Everton's game as well, right?
Correct.
James Rodriguez.
Martial was more into the game, more emotionally into the game because we were losing that time, and he was not mature enough to see how will this play off. Losing him was the final nail in the coffin. Talking now, going from Spurs' point of view, Spurs are the first visiting side to score 4 goals in the first half at Old Trafford. Another team did it in 1957. Can you guess which team was that? Spurs again. Harry Kane Harry Kane and Son, that partnership is just amazing. Harry Kane has been now directly involved in 9 goals, 3 goals and 6 assists. Only Thierry Henry in 2004-05 season had more, that is 10 in opening 4 games.
Isn't Son also right there?
Yeah.
Son has 10, I think, or 9, I don't know. But yeah, that partnership is is exciting to watch. That chemistry that they have. They know they don't have to see the player. They know that he's gonna be there. That's amazing. I think a dream homecoming for Mourinho.
Yeah, Son has 6 goals, 4 assists. Oh my god, that's just there. You just see these two guys playing together. And it's only the third time Man United have conceded 6 goals in a single Premier League game, and that the last 2 were 1996 versus Southampton and 2011 against. You know the answer.
City.
Yeah.
Okay. So talking about all that, I have a very quick question. Okay, and you can make it short. So we all talk about the lack of signings, right, by United that has been there. But if you see the backline, it's almost a 200 million backline. If you see the entire team, it's close to 500 million. In valuation on paper, right? Do you think signings are a problem, or is it the manager?
See, one thing that has to be said about the manager is that he's definitely not an experienced manager. So that you have to give him credit of whatever he's doing till now. If this season would be his last season if he doesn't win any trophies. That's true. I want to keep that aside because that we have already spoken about. He's a new manager. He's still learning things. Let's talk about signings, right? So he has done 5 signings till now, give and take. Regardlessly, even if they were started before he joined it, but the team that was playing today, or the team that was playing yesterday against Spurs, was the exact same team last season.
Yep.
Ditto team, right? That team did well because Bruno Fernandes had come in. And at that point of time in Premier League, a lot of Premier League teams were struggling, and Bruno Fernandes adding this new catalyst to the team at an attacking did really well. But then now the other teams have improved because they know what mistakes they did. Spurs finished at 6th or 7th last season. They know now what mistakes they have done. They have made sure those. Spurs is signing people. Can you believe it? They had a window without signing anyone.
Yeah.
So now they're signing people. They are trying to improve their team. On the flip side of it, you can't expect a manager. You can't reinvent the wheel. No, you can't give them the same team and say, okay, now with the same team try winning the cup again or try winning the. Me targeting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not gonna solve the problem because he's not the problem, as we have already spoken.
The thing is, we've heard a lot of things about, and I asked you that question because there have been a lot of talks about him not being able to get the best out of players. Probably Bruno Fernandes is the only one who is playing well. I still doubt he's playing up to his potential, what he did when he came in last season. I still think he can improve more, especially this season. He has had a couple of goals, but then I think he's still not at that potential what he was playing last season, especially after the restart. But
don't you think so that this same team, came same points with the 4th and came 3rd last season, and that was overachievement by this team, right? Because this team with these kind of players, Martial, Rashford, and Greenwood scoring about 30 plus goals together, that was an overachievement by them. That would never happen back-to-back seasons, right? That will only happen when they are in good form, they are not injured. See, there are a lot of if involved in that,
right?
So now, let's just compare this to Liverpool game. So I know Liverpool will come back, say in 2 games, Mane would be back, Eden will be back, and this will never happen again. But I can't say the same thing about Man United because who will be back? McTominay or Fred, who was not even picked in the last team. So if he was not the first choice going into a game like this, and almost the last complete season as well, because Ole keeps his team very stable.
Yeah,
he makes sure the team is very stable. The same team plays in and out. So who is your substitute then? So that's the problem here. And even if he wants to substitute somebody, he has similar kind of players. You can't remove Pogba and get Van der Beek in. Pogba gives you that attack, and so does Van der Beek now. If you want to play with an attacking midfield, you should have those amazing centre backs to back them up, which we don't have right now. We can't. Eric Bailly was really good till he did a mistake, right? Eric Bailly, the kind of saves that he was doing was amazing, and then he did that mistake, which led to a goal. Harry Kane, I think, exploited Maguire like nobody's business.
I think they realized it early on that he's been making those mistakes and sort of exploited him. But I think a dark day in Manchester.
Oh, big! Manchester United 6-0, City 5-0 last week. So just Christmas coming early for the teams visiting Manchester now. If the entire conclusion of this game would be Ole gonna go out, or Ole gonna Ole out. That's the worst thing that can ever happen to Man United right now, because it's the fucking management, not the manager. Because it's the team that he's getting. If you are a big fan of Man United, and if you're happy with just one signing, and if you're happy with the fan service of signing of Cavani, then you're not a fucking supporter of Man United. That's it for me. But then So moving on to the moment of the week, Karthik. Moment of the week for you.
I think it would be more like a game of the week. I think it's going to be Liverpool and Aston Villa. Definitely, I think thoroughly enjoyed it. I do feel bad for Liverpool losing that way, but then it was a shocking. It was a shock.
I think, as I told you, it was such a stress buster for so many Man U fans across the world. when you saw Man United losing 6-1 and then you're going to the last game and they're like, oh, this is interesting. The one thing that I loved about that game was Klopp's reaction to each and every goal scored against him. He was so happy to see those goals and very honest about the game post match as well. Just very honest.
He knew that the team did not play well. He did not blame the referee. He did not blame anybody. He knew his team wasn't playing well, and he was amused the entire game of what the hell is happening.
Watkins scoring those goals, and he was just excited to see this kid. Probably he's gonna go to Liverpool next time. It was pretty exciting to see that. For me as well, I think this was the game of the week. I can't pick anything over it than this game being there. Grealish almost scoring a hat trick. Missed his hat trick too. He had chances to do that, but he missed it. But I think Watkins did and nobody did. I think it would have been an amazing stat though, since a decade nobody scored hat trick against Liverpool, and same game 2 people scored. That would have been amazing. So with that, guys, we'll wrap up this episode. If you like this episode and if you want to watch, please hit the like button and please show some love by subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.
Cheers.